When I say you were not created for a job but for a purpose, I am not dismissing the importance of work. Work matters. It shapes our discipline. It teaches us responsibility, and it allows us to contribute to the world. But what I am confronting is the dangerous illusion that your identity is tied to employment. Too many people live as if the measure of their worth is stamped on a business card or a paycheck. They forget that long before a company ever wrote their name on a contract, the universe had already inscribed a calling into their very being. You are not here to simply fill a vacancy in an organization. You are here to fulfill a vacancy in history. Think about it. A job is designed by someone else's vision. It exists because another person saw a need, created a system, and decided they needed people to keep it running. When you step into that role, you may be working diligently, even with excellence, but you are still serving someone else's dream. Now, there is nothing wrong with that for a time. We all serve in some way. But when you confuse that temporary assignment with the eternal reason for your existence, you shrink yourself down to fit into boxes you were never meant to occupy. Purpose, on the other hand, is not assigned by an employer. It is embedded by a creator. Purpose is the deep sense of why that precedes every what. It is the invisible thread that runs through your passions, your gifts, your struggles, and your desires. And unlike a job, purpose cannot be taken from you. An employer can fire you, but they cannot erase your purpose. An economy can collapse, but your calling does not collapse with it. When you truly grasp this, you stop living in fear of being unemployed and start living with the certainty that you can never be unpurposed. This is why people who operate from purpose move differently. They may take jobs, but they don't cling to them. They understand that the paycheck is a tool, not a master. They see employment as a platform, not a prison. And when the season for that job ends, they carry their identity with them because their worth was never tied to the role. It was always tied to the work they were born to do. So if you're chasing jobs, stop and ask yourself a deeper question. What was I placed here to give? Not just, what can I do to survive? But, what can I create that will outlive me? That's the shift from employment to purpose, from existing to truly living. And here is the truth: you must hold on to. A job may sustain you, but only purpose will fulfill you. Live for the paycheck, and you will always feel like something is missing. Live for your purpose, and even in seasons without a paycheck, you will still feel rich. Never forget, your purpose existed before your RA, and it will outlast your retirement. You said, expand key point no. 2, into a 500-word segment that flows naturally within the overall speech, aligning seamlessly with the other key points. The tone should be intellectual and authoritative, yet accessible, mirroring approach. The language should be clear and direct, with a focus on psychological and philosophical depth. Avoid any formal headings, keeping the delivery conversational, as if speaking to an audience in a lecture or interview format. Conclude with a powerful, concise closing statement that leaves the audience with something to reflect on, motivating them to act on the insights. ChatGPT said, "One of the greatest deceptions we are sold in life is the idea that a job equals security. From childhood, we are taught that if we study hard, earn the right credentials, and land a stable job, then we will finally be safe. But look around at the world today. Companies that once seemed indestructible collapse overnight. Industries are disrupted by new technology. Economies rise and fall with little warning. The security we thought was guaranteed is revealed to be fragile, temporary, and often beyond our control. A job may give you a paycheck, but it cannot give you certainty. It may cover your bills, but it cannot shield you from the unexpected turns of life. Psychologically, this illusion of security becomes a trap. We trade our freedom, our creativity, and sometimes even our health for the promise of stability. We put our trust in institutions and employers, believing they will protect us, when in reality they are structured to protect themselves. A business exists to preserve its survival, not yours. And when times get difficult, it is not your dreams they cut to balance the books. It is you. If your entire sense of safety rests on someone else's decision to keep you, then you are living at the mercy of forces you cannot control. Philosophically, this dependence robs us of our agency. Human beings were never meant to be merely maintained. We were meant to grow, to create, to extend ourselves beyond survival. Yet when we place our trust entirely in employment, we shrink our ambitions to fit the dimensions of a paycheck. We live small because we are afraid of what might happen if the job disappears. And in that fear, we forget that the real source of stability is not the institution we serve, but the resourcefulness within us. True security is the ability to adapt, to generate ideas, to create value no matter the circumstances. Think of those who thrive even when economies crumble. They are not immune to difficulty, but they are not paralyzed by it. Why? Because their foundation was never a job. It was their capacity to produce, to innovate, to serve others with their unique gifts. That is the kind of security no one can fire you from, no market can erase. It is the kind that lives inside of you and moves with you wherever you go. So, if you've been living with the belief that your job is your safety net, it's time to confront the truth it is not. It is, at best, a temporary support. The real safety net is the strength of your mind, the depth of your vision, and the courage to rely on your own God-given capacity to create. Remember this: the illusion of job security may comfort you for a moment, but it will betray you in the end. Build your life on purpose, not payroll, and you will find a security that no crisis can take away. There is a critical distinction we must learn if we are ever going to live beyond the limits of the job mindset. A job and work are not the same thing. A job is an arrangement. You give your time, your energy, and your skills in exchange for money. But work, in its truest sense, is what you were born to do. It is the expression of your gifts, your passion, your uniqueness. A job can be terminated, but real work can never be taken from you, because it flows out of who you are. Most people confuse the two, and that confusion is why so many live in quiet frustration. They pour themselves into jobs, believing that the tasks they complete, the hours they log, and the titles they earn define their worth. But deep down, they know something is missing. That gnawing sense of dissatisfaction isn't laziness or entitlement. It's the soul reminding you that you're not here just to perform tasks. You're here to fulfill work that resonates with your identity. Philosophically, this is a profound truth. Jobs belong to the realm of economics. Work belongs to the realm of purpose. Jobs are temporary solutions to external needs. Work is the eternal solution to the question of why you exist. That is why you can lose a job and still continue your work. That is why someone who is unemployed may still be deeply engaged in meaningful activity, while someone with a prestigious position may feel utterly empty inside. The external label never defines the internal calling. When you grasp this difference, it liberates you from fear. If all you have is a job, then losing it feels like losing your identity. But if you understand your work, your true calling, then even in the absence of employment, you still have direction. you can still build, create, serve, and grow because your work is portable. It travels with you wherever you go. This is why some of the most influential people in history were not defined by the roles they held, but by the work they carried in their hearts. Their jobs may have shifted, but their work endured, shaping legacies that outlived them. And this should challenge you to think, are you merely doing a job, or are you living your work? If your job aligns with your work, then you are in a blessed position. But if your job is suffocating your work, then you must recognize that you cannot afford to abandon what you were born to do. A job may pay your bills, but your work is what will satisfy your soul. Never forget this distinction. A job ends at retirement, but your work lives until your last breath. And the world does not remember job titles, it remembers the work you left behind. Dependence has a subtle way of eroding potential. At first, it feels comfortable to lean on the structure of a job. You receive your instructions, you perform your tasks, and at the end of the month, the paycheck arrives. It feels predictable. It feels safe. But over time, that dependence begins to reshape how you think, how you dream, and how you act. You stop asking questions like, what could I create? What can I bring into existence? Instead, you only ask, what do they want from me? What do I need to do to keep this position? And slowly, your capacity for imagination begins to shrink, your courage weakens, and your potential goes dormant. This is not because you are incapable, but because dependence trains you to silence the very instincts that make you human. The drive to explore, to invent, to build. It persuades you that safety lies in pleasing the system, rather than daring to bring your own vision into reality. It convinces you that your future is in someone else's hands, and when you accept that lie, you surrender the power that was given to you at birth, the power to choose, to create, to transform. Philosophically, dependence is the opposite of freedom. A dependent person may survive, but they cannot fully live. They may manage to maintain a routine, but they will rarely unlock the depth of their potential. Because potential, by its very nature, demands risk. It demands stepping into the unknown, stretching beyond what is comfortable, and trusting that the capacity within you is greater than the circumstances around you. Dependence resists this. It whispers, don't take risks. Don't dream too big. Just stay where it's safe. But the irony is that the so-called safety of dependence is the most dangerous place to remain, because in trying to preserve comfort, you sacrifice growth. Look at history, and you'll see this truth. The men and women who left legacies were never the ones who clung to dependence. They broke away from it. They dared to ask new questions, to create new solutions, to defy the systems that tried to confine them. And because they did, their potential was unlocked, and their work rippled far beyond their lifetimes. So ask yourself, are you living as a dependent, waiting for someone to give you permission to use your gifts? Or are you willing to break free from that mindset and step into the risk of your own potential? Yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it feels uncertain. But that uncertainty is the very soil where your greatness is meant to grow. Here is the truth worth carrying with you. Dependence may keep you alive, but it will never let you live. Choose to rise above it, and you will discover that your potential has been waiting, all along, for you to finally trust it. One of the greatest shifts a person can make in life is moving from seeking permission to creating value. Think about how most of us are trained from an early age. We are told to apply, to wait, to hope that someone will notice us and grant us an opportunity. We learn to polish our resumes, rehearse interviews, and compete for approval. But in that process, we are unconsciously taught that power rests in someone else's hands, that our future depends on whether they decide to hire us, promote us, or give us a chance. This mindset turns us into seekers of validation rather than creators of value. But the truth is, the world does not truly reward those who wait for permission. The world moves forward because of people who create. History remembers the builders, the visionaries, the innovators, the ones who didn't sit around waiting for someone to recognize their worth, but instead demonstrated it by solving problems, by meeting needs, by bringing ideas to life. These individuals did not need to beg for a seat at the table. They built their own tables, and eventually the world came knocking. Philosophically, this is a profound reorientation of the human spirit. To seek permission is to live from a place of dependency and scarcity. Will they choose me? Am I good enough for them? But to create value is to live from abundance. I already have something to offer, and I will bring it into existence, whether or not anyone invites me. That is the essence of freedom, and it is the birthplace of greatness. When you begin to create value, you no longer worry about chasing opportunities. Opportunities begin to chase you. Employers, clients, and collaborators naturally gravitate toward those who demonstrate initiative, originality, and the courage to bring something new into the world. And here lies the key difference. The job seeker asks, "Who will give me a chance?" The creator asks, "What can I give that no one else has thought to give?" That question unlocks possibilities no resume ever could. This is not only a practical truth, but a deeply spiritual one. To create is to mirror the divine nature itself. We were designed to build, to innovate, to bring forth new expressions of life. When we shrink back and wait for others to authorize us, we deny that creative spark within us. But when we step forward and produce value, even in small ways, we honor that spark, and we align ourselves with the very reason we exist. So, do not spend your life waiting for permission slips from people who may never see your full potential. Begin creating. Write the book, launch the idea, start the project, design the solution. Even if no one applauds at first, value has a way of making itself undeniable. And here is the lesson to remember: permission is granted by people, but value is recognized by the world. Stop asking to be chosen. Start creating, and you will discover that you were chosen the moment you decided to give what only you can give. At some point, if you truly want to step out of the job-centered mindset, you must summon faith and courage. Faith, because you have to believe you were designed for more than a paycheck. Courage, because the world will try to pull you back into its structures of safety and conformity. Breaking free from the dependency on employment alone is not simply a career move. It is a spiritual and psychological leap. It means trusting that the gifts within you are not random, that your purpose is not an accident, and that you are equipped with everything you need to create a meaningful life beyond the walls of someone else's company. Fear, of course, will try to hold you. Fear whispers, "What if you fail? What if you can't provide? What if people laugh at you?" These are not new questions. They are the timeless doubts that have paralyzed countless men and women from stepping into their calling. Yet when you examine them closely, you realize that fear only thrives where faith is absent. Faith does not guarantee that you will never fall, but it assures you that even when you stumble, there is a greater hand guiding you, teaching you, and preparing you for the next step. Courage, then, is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. Every person who has ever broken free from the limitations of the job mindset has had to step into unfamiliar territory. They had to endure seasons of uncertainty, sometimes even rejection. But what allowed them to endure was the conviction that life is too short to be imprisoned by fear, too sacred to be wasted on merely surviving. They recognized that to cling to comfort is to betray the very reason they were created. Philosophically, this is the defining moment of freedom. To live by faith and courage is to reclaim your agency from the structures that seek to confine it. It is to say, I will no longer measure my worth by who hires me, but by how faithfully I express the gifts I have been given. That shift does not just change your career, it changes your life. It transforms you from a passive participant in someone else's vision into an active architect of your own. And perhaps the greatest irony is this: when you finally stop obsessing over jobs, and instead commit to your work, your purpose, your calling, you often become more valuable in the marketplace than ever before. Because the world is always hungry for those who live with conviction, who move with clarity, who refuse to be enslaved by fear. So here is the challenge I leave with you. Dare to trust that your life is bigger than your job. Have the courage to step beyond the familiar, to risk failure, and to pursue the work you were born to do. Because in the end, it is not the job that defines you. It is the faith and courage with which you chose to live your purpose.